All right, joining us now is the head coach at Central Arkansas. She's been part of the program for about a decade, and now they are, of course, the A-Sun Conference champions. They wrapped that up with the series sweep at Jacksonville State. I speak of head coach Jenny Parsons joining us here on In the Circle. A-Sun champions. That's got a good ring to it, doesn't it?
It does. It does. Thanks for having me.
What was that like when you got that final out against Jacksonville State and basically clinched the regular season title? Was that even cross your mind? How long did it before you realized, hey, we're conference champions?
We knew going into the weekend that we needed 3 wins to at least clinch a share with Liberty. But since we beat Liberty 2 out of 3, it'll be a full share. So, yeah, the final game was exciting. It came down to the last. I was 4-3, and then a hard ground ball back to Caleb Beaver, and it was over. So, wasn't a whole lot of fanfare. We talked about some of the mistakes that we made during the end of the game huddle, and then we just said, hey, we're conference champs, congratulations. So I'm sure we'll celebrate it this week at home during senior day and stuff like that.
For sure. What has it been like for you? Because you've been with this program through the transition. You joined the A-Sun Conference a couple years ago, coming over from the Southland. Take us through that process for this program and to be having a success that you've had with the transition that you've had to do as a program.
I was here with Coach Kewen for a long time. I left Nichols and I came up here as an assistant. And I really enjoyed being an assistant coach. I was a head coach before, and I really liked the development of players aspect of being an assistant coach. And, going from the A-Sun, I think Coach Kewen's last year was the Southland, and then being a head coach for the first year at A-Sun, I really didn't know what to expect. I knew the Southland. I'd been in the Southland since 2002, even when I was my days at Nichols. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know how we would stack up competition wise, whether we'd be middle of the pack or that matter. So I remember talking to some of the other coaches, as the soccer coaches on campus, and asking them where they thought they were and how their transition went. So I was pleasantly surprised last year when we finished second in the conference. We lost to North Florida 5 times. We couldn't figure out a way to beat them, but and we didn't play Liberty last year. So playing Liberty this year was the first time we had played them. So the transition was interesting. The travel was different. I think we flew 4 times to Florida last year. So yeah, it's a little different than going to Louisiana and Texas the whole time.
Yeah, a little bit. You get some trips. You mentioned North Florida. I spoke to Jeff Conrad, the head coach of UNF, when he was down in Orlando a few weeks back, and he told me he was so impressed playing your team. He said that your team reminded him a lot about the UCF 2015 team, where he was a volunteer that had 2 aces, All-American aces, in Shelby Turnier and Mackenzie Audis. And he really thought your team was very similar with Caleb Beaver and Jordan Johnson. Just let's talk about this pitching staff, because it's one of the best in the country. Caleb Beaver is a top 25 finalist for National Player of the Year. I think Jordan Johnson should have been on that list as well. They're 1A, it just so, but be that as it may, just talk about those 2 in particular, and then because they have become now big names for this program.
Yeah, I've coached Jordan for 5 years. I've coached Beaver for 4 years. They're both very good at what they do. They're 2 different pitchers. Beaver is a power arm. She's low 70s, high 60s, low 70s, depending on how she's feeling that week, or if I'm making her mad. She throws a little harder when she's a little mad. So Jordan is a 4 to 5 pitcher at times. She can really move it around. She spins it. She throws mid 60s, and honestly, they've really developed for 4 years and 5 years, and it's the reason we're in this position this year is because of the depth and not just them, the entire team. They're all upperclassmen. From my second baseman, Mary Kate Brown, and all around, they've been playing together for 4 years, and they've had really good seasons for 3 of those years, minus the COVID year. So, but Kayla is outstanding. She can pitch in any level, and I've been saying a long time that they're elite.
Definitely elite, and I think people now are aware of that very well. When that announcement was made about top 25 player of the year, how did you handle that? Because on the one hand, you're excited for Caleb, but on the other hand, you know that Jordan got a raw deal here. Because I agree, but I just don't understand how one got picked over the other. Both should be in. And the same thing, ironically, happened at UCF, where Shelby Turnier was picked and Mackenzie Audis was not, and they both ended up 1-2 in the country in ERA. So that doesn't make any sense. How, as a coach, though, do you handle that with your players?
Oh, well, I mean, it's tough. Don't get me wrong. Kayla is deserving of the top 25 player of the year list. And I believe Jordan is right there with her. So we're not anywhere near the team without her or without the other. They're tit for tat. So it's like you get one, you get the other. But it's been that way for 2 years now. They neither one of them made pitcher of the year last year, pitcher in the all conference. Neither of them were voted preseason pitcher in all conference this season. So, how I handled it is I congratulated Caleb Beaver, and then I literally sent Jordan Johnson your podcast from that week, and I put your opinion out there, and I said I agree with Eric. So,
well, thank you. I appreciate you for that.
She gave me a hug and said, "I appreciate you, Coach." So that meant a lot to her, and it's the truth. I don't know how the voting goes. I don't know how the nomination goes. It's the first time for us to be in this position, so maybe they can only nominate one. I don't know how that works. So.
Yeah, no, I hear you there, and I like I said, I've been there, so I understand that. And it feels like there's been a little bit of a chip on the shoulder. Do you sense they play with a chip on the shoulder? They pitch with a shoulder because you mentioned they haven't gotten recognized in the past. Maybe they've gotten overlooked. Is that part of the story of this success?
I think that's the story of our team. I think that's how we play. We knew we were going to be talented going into the season. My pitchers knew they were going to have good seasons, and we've been maybe overlooked a little bit. So then when you get midway through the season and you start looking at RPI, and we went from being the hunter to the hunted a little bit, and we had a little bit of some nervousness and some how to change our approach and kind of staying relaxed throughout the season, and not letting to the big stage try to affect us more. So, and that's been the balancing act. It's just dealing with the different pressure of where we're at now as opposed to where we've been in the past, because it's all new for everybody.
Going into the season, a lot of people liked your team as perhaps challenging Liberty, but people that were wondering, could you have enough offense? People respected the pitch, but did you have enough offense and defense? And the answer has simply been yes. Talk about a little bit about the rest of the team, because obviously your pitching staff gets a lot of the attention, rightfully so. But as you mentioned, this is a complete team, your offense, timely hitting, and your defense. Just speak to that strength of your ball club.
We played a tough schedule. We scheduled intently this year, strictly to try to put ourselves in position for having an at-large bid if we didn't win the tournament. And it's kind of come to fruition. So I understand our offensive struggles in the beginning of the year when you're playing LSU twice and Utah and Oklahoma State and Iowa, and you're seeing all the team's best pitchers. I mean, I think we got Kilponen of the 14 innings we played LSU. I think we got our 12 innings. So, so I understand our offensive numbers, but when we get to the middle of March and we start playing conference, so we've really started playing better offensively. Now, our team is not a power team. So if you look at our team, we're short, fast. We'll run. We'll put pressure on people, and we play to our game. We play to our speed game, and that's how we score runs. We're not going to hit 80 home runs in a year, but it's been our MO. We like to run. We'd like to put pressure on teams, and there's a lot of, like I said before, a lot of veterans on the team, a lot of seniors, a lot of upperclassmen have been doing it a lot. So we just rely on them to make adjustments game to game, at bat to at bat, pitch to pitch.
You mentioned that LSU, that was the Baton Rouge tournament that had Utah, where you beat Utah.
Yes.
How big was that weekend as far as kind of setting the tone for the success you would have? Because that was, in retrospect, that was a strong field. And Utah, we've seen what they've been doing. They've had a great year. and you beat them there, and you challenged LSU. Was that you mentioned a tough schedule? That was a big the beginning of it.
Right. So we went to McNeese the weekend before, and we went, I think, 4-0 at McNeese, and then we went to LSU the following weekend, and we played Ohio first, and we beat them, and then we beat Utah the next game 2-0. And the Utah game was huge. I think we saw their lefty pitcher. It's a long time ago for me because I'm old. We saw the lefty pitcher, and we were able to scratch out 2 runs. And Jordan or Beaver, I forget who pitched that game, pitched outstanding and held them to 0. And then the next day we get LSU, and we lose to LSU 1-0 on a, I forget how they got their hit, but I know I got tossed in the game because I thought we had a hit that scored us a run, and we didn't. So, but playing LSU tough and beating Utah and beating Ohio that weekend, and then the 4-0 start at McNeese, the confidence just oozes from our team. They're not really afraid of anybody. Whereas in years past, they may have given up runs just based on the name on the shirt. And I don't think that matters anymore. I think we can beat and play with anybody. And that's how my kids feel too. So
You're right. You win over McNeese at their park, which also, by the way, they're winning the Southland. They're in the top 50, in fact, RPI as we talk. So that's a big win. But I think a lot of people started taking notice of your team, Coach, on March 6th when you went to Fayetteville and beat Arkansas 2-1. The final great pitching matchup there for highest ranked win for the program ever. Take me through that day winning at Arkansas, because that's when a lot of the country started taking notice of your team.
Yeah, we've been up to Arkansas the last 3 years. This is the 3rd year we've gone up to Arkansas and play them. And we've been close. We've lost on a home run in the 7th, and we've lost different ways to them in the past. And we knew they had a different team. Their big hitters from the years past were gone. The Lenny Malkins and the KB Sides and you name them, all of them. The first baseman Gibson to whatever. Lenny Malkin literally hit like 5 home runs in 2 years against us. So when she was coaching first base, I thought that was a win for us. But I don't know. Jordan Johnson has been tough against them for years, and she had every single pitch moving, every single pitch working, and she just kept them off balance. And they scored 1 run in the first inning. I think Reagan Johnson had a hit, stole second base, and then got scored on an RBI. It was like 1-0 within the first 15 minutes, and then we just put the pedal down. Shanice Dulce pitched a great game against us. I think she had 10 strikeouts through 5 innings, and then we started making adjustments and figuring a way. And then MK Brown hits a double down the right field line. We start scoring runs, and getting that big strikeout at the end of the game was outstanding. It was a great win, and it really catapulted us forward through that, because that stretch for that week for us that in March was Arkansas, Stanford twice, Kansas twice, and Oklahoma State. Now, we didn't get to play Stanford twice or Kansas twice because it was a rain out up there, but that was the 7-game stretch that we had from March 6th to March 14th or 15th when we lost to Oklahoma State 7-3. So
that was a game you led. That was a game you led too, the Oklahoma State game.
Yes. And we knew that week was going to be really telling of how our season was going to go.
It went really well. And then you followed that up a month later, beating Arkansas at home in front of the largest crowd in Conway. I had Dorian Kraft on, who does a lot of your games on the broadcast, and she told me the environment was one of the best environments ever, and the buzz now for your program, because that state of Arkansas has become a softball state with the great success that Arkansas has had, even in the Division II level with but people now, the casual fans are jumping into your program. Do you sense that? Because she sensed that going into that Arkansas home game and beyond since.
Absolutely. The Arkansas game was great. We had a great crowd. I think it was close to 2,500 people. When I think our actual seating facility seats 300. So the stands were filled, and then there was 2,200 people on our berm or down the sidelines. There wasn't a grass spot out there, and there was a lot of UCA fans and there was some Arkansas fans out there, but having that win against Arkansas at home again, it's really done a lot for the state of Arkansas and for us. Like we've gained more fans. My SID likes to joke how many we picked up on Facebook or picked up on Twitter after just that game. And then you can kind of tell throughout the season after that Arkansas game at home, just how many fans were filling into our games after that game. The Liberty series, we had a really good crowds during the Liberty series. So it's important to see and interesting to see how many people are taking note of our program and coming and supporting our program.
Yeah, the sport has exploded in the state of Arkansas. You've been a big part of that. Uh, let's talk a little bit about your career. You took over the program a couple years ago. When they offered you the head coaching job, did you have any hesitancy? Did you, want the opportunity? It was a unique situation. Take me through that, how you became the head coach from your mindset, because you've been a pitching coach for a long time. You mentioned, you've been a head coach before at Nichols. People always wondered if you would go back to being a head coach with the success you've had, especially as a pitching coach. What was that like for you?
I knew when the opportunity came available that yes, I wanted to be the head coach. If I didn't get the head coaching job, I'm okay with being an assistant coach. I like being behind the scenes. If you know anything about me, I don't coach third base. My assistant coach, Kayla Lucas, who does a great job for us, she coaches third base. She runs the defense. I'm in the dugout, and it's just kind of how I like. This is awkward for me to be here talking to you and being on a podcast, but I guess that's the responsibility of a head coach nowadays. So, but yes, I had a vision of what this program could be, and I explained that to my AD, and it's been a great experience since. When I left Nichols to be an assistant coach, I had no interest in being a head coach again, but things change over time.
I think so. It's worked out there. What is it about UCA that attracted you to come there?
What, from Nichols?
Yeah.
Well, let's see. At Nichols, it was me and my assistant coach, and we had an all dirt field, and it was the same amount of salary, and they had an all turf field here, and I didn't have to do field work anymore. And I was coming to work with one of my really good friends in Coach Kewen, and it was a great decision. And I love my time at Nichols State, but it was a great decision. It was a change of pace, something different for me, and I felt that Central Arkansas is a place that I could go up there and help Coach Kewen win championships.
The field turf. That's the one thing that always stands out to me when I've watched your games. People recognize it very well. I've had other coaches from other schools talk to me now that they might follow in your footsteps and add field turf to it. Just take me through that, because that is unique. We don't see that in the college game as much, although some schools are starting to go that direction more and more to have field turf. Just take me through that sort of having that turf and the advantage, the positives of having field turf when you consider weather elements and things like that.
Right. So it takes being at a school with Central Arkansas where we may not have the this amount of support staff other people have, or grounds people to run and do all the the weeding and dragging and mowing of grasses. And it takes all that time that you have at other places, such as like a Nichols or something like that, out. Now I have more time to plan and practice. I have more time to worry about my team recruiting. I don't have to worry about the field. I can walk out of my office, walk on the field, go right to practice. It's lined, everything. And at the end of practice, I don't have to drag the field and worry about all that. So it's been outstanding. The NCAA obviously doesn't allow teams to host regionals with field turf, but it's been great for us. I think I can remember a coach coming in and saying, "You guys have an advantage because you have turf and we don't have turf and this and that." And I was like, "Well, we're on here all the time. We play more games on dirt than we play on our own on turf. So your argument's not really very good." But I like the field turf. I mean, I really do. And it's easier to wash uniforms. So.
And it is easier, but it's also because I think some coaches have this, there's this preconceived notion back in the day when you brought up turf. Oh, is that too risky for players? But with the way things have advanced in today's, with advanced research and things like that, it's actually safer now, especially with certain field turf. And talking to other coaches, just kind of expand on that from a player's standpoint.
Say that again.
just the safety of the player with playing on field turf. It's safer now to play on field turf than it was maybe 10, 20 years ago because we know more. There's more information, more
Yeah,
data, advanced research.
our field is one of the first turf fields that they had in the NCAA. I think it was us and Abilene Christian had turf, and then it's kind of blown up from there. Um, there's concussion paddings on the field. There's all kinds of stuff. It's they have our infield is a turf infield, but it's a sand base, so it's not quite as hot as this rubber base. I talked to Kenny Gajewski. They have a turf outfield, and they have actually wood chips as their base in the outfield, so it doesn't bounce. So there's different turfs, and if you like, we played at Jacksonville State this weekend, and they have field turf as well, and it feels like a normal field, except the dirt field. It plays normal, plays true, and it is safe. When it's rains, yeah, it plays a little faster, but other than that, as soon as it's done raining, we're playing. We can play within 30 minutes after the rain.
Yeah, quicker recovery. And like I said, I've talked to a lot of coaches, especially in the Midwest, that want field turf and are going to get some field turf because obviously with the weather, if it snows or if it's rain, that beats up the field to the point where it becomes unplayable on grass. And I've been told that there's a lot of coaches that are going to push for the NCAA to change that rule that you just referenced moments ago about not being allowed to host a regional. They're going to be a big push. Do you sense that in talking to your colleagues that could be something that's discussed here in a couple of years?
Yeah, I don't know how it will change, if it'll change. I hope it changes. I know baseball, it doesn't. You can get a regional if you have turf. I don't see why there shouldn't be a movement to that with the NCAA. It really helps us being in the Midwest. We have a lot of rain come March and April, so it really helps us keeping games going. So I mean, I can remember playing when I was at Nichols at Central Arkansas when they had dirt, and you couldn't hardly play here. The outfield was like ankle deep water when it rained. So it's really helped us continue to keep on schedule and not having to reschedule games.
Let's talk about your staff. You mentioned Kayla Lucas, who was a successful head coach in her previous run there at D2, Chris Watford on your side. Just talk about your staff and their roles they have on your program.
Well, Kayla is outstanding. When I got the job, she was our volunteer the season before with Coach Q, and she came in January after she left Young Harris. And meeting her and getting to know her throughout that whole season was really big for me. So when I was trying to get the head coaching job, I knew I wanted her as my assistant coach because she's just a doer. She's a go-getter. She's fiery. She's a competitor. She's a winner. I'm lucky to have her. I hope I can keep her. And Chris Wofford has been with me for years. He was my assistant at Nichols State. He does the outfield. He does all our travel stuff. Kayla runs our infield defense, and she does team defense. And then her and I kind of tag team the hitting. We don't necessarily really have a hitting coach. I've been a hitting coach before, and I've been a pitching coach before. I've done it all before. So we kind of work all together that way. But Kayla runs the third base. She coaches third base. She runs our offense, and we run the defense together when we're on defense. But it's been a good mixture. She does a great job, and so does Chris.
You were a two-way player at East Carolina. In fact, you're in the Hall of Fame at East Carolina. In fact, I first heard of your name because obviously I broadcast UCF games when they play East Carolina. I would see your name on the media guides everywhere. So tell us a little bit about who Jenny Parsons, the player, was.
Oh gosh, I played volleyball and I played softball from 1989 to 1994. Me as a player, I have to remember, this is a long time ago. So me as a player, I was just a competitor. I liked to play. I love just competing. I didn't pitch. I mean, I pitched every game for like 3 years at East Carolina. That's why I have all the innings pitches and all that. But if you look at my career strikeout list, it's like I had like maybe 500 in 4 years. So that's not very good. I was just a team player. I liked getting outs as fast as I could with ground balls, and I was just a competitor. I wanted to win. I wanted to play the best, and that's kind of how I coach. I just want to play the best, and we want to win games. And um, with volleyball is the same way. I was a setter. I didn't get to play a whole lot in volleyball my first 2 years, so in my mind, I was like, well, I'm not going to play a whole lot in softball, but it just worked out that way. I don't really like to talk about myself a whole lot, but um, I enjoyed my experience at East Carolina.
How did your experience as a player help you as a coach?
Oh Lord, man, you're asking hard hitting questions today, aren't you? Um, well, I had a really good coach, and Coach Sue Manahan, and then my assistant, my GA was Tracy Key when I was there. So, and she's had a great career, and I coached with her a lot. So I've learned a lot about being a competitor and how to win ball games, and we were good even as a player in the 90s, early 90s. We were talented, we were good, and it's just something that you learn from people that you're mentored by, and I had some really good mentors growing up.
That's tremendous. How do you feel you've changed? Like, how are you different now than you were, say, when you were at Nichols?
I've learned that you can't make everybody happy, right, as a coach. And when I was a coach at Nichols, I spent a lot of time trying to make sure every kid on my team was happy. And that's something I just said with my team now is going to get the truth, whether they want to hear the truth or they don't want to hear the truth. They're going to get it, and they're going to have my respect because of that, as opposed to trying to keep people happy. And it's a different mindset, trying to change a mindset of, hey, we try to win every game, but I don't know. It's my philosophy is we're going to put the best 9 players out there, and we're going to go after it and get after it. So I don't know. I've learned to not let the administration side of being a head coach be the run of your life, and you need to make sure you plan your day around what's the most important 2.5 hours of your day, and that's developing your team to be ready to be successful for competition, and everything else will fall in place.
The ASUN tournament will be on the horizon in DeLand. This is the 8th strongest conference in college softball, according to the RPI. It's a strong year. Obviously, you've had a great year. Liberty's having a great year. Florida Gulf Coast is having a good year. Just talk about the league overall, because I know as coaches, y'all feel that you don't get the just due that you deserve, but it's a strong league and it's having a strong year.
Yeah, it is an outstanding league, and I knew that coming into it. I knew Liberty was going to be, they're tough to beat, and Florida Gulf Coast, to beat anybody in this conference 3 games or 2 out of 3 games is saying something. Jacksonville State, they're outstanding. They can really swing the bat. Florida Gulf Coast and all their lefties, they drove me nuts. So they can run. They put a lot of pressure on you. So it'll be interesting in the conference tournament. I think there's any number of teams that can win the conference tournament. We didn't play Austin Peay this year, and I've seen their pitch on film a lot, so I know what they have. And then same thing with Queens. We didn't see them this year. So it's a strong league from top to bottom.
Yeah, and Stetson, the host team, that they got good young pitching too. There, Shelly Robinson's doing a nice job of their second year as head coach. They're turning that program around. They got wins over Georgia, UCF.
Yeah, we didn't play them this year either, so I guess I lucked out with that. So, but yeah, Shelly's done a great job down there.
What's the tournament for those that may not know as well? Talk about the tournament format. It's unique in the ASUN from that standpoint. What's it like being part of that conference tournament?
Yeah, so the ASUN has what we call a play-in game. So there's 2 play-in games that are like I think it's 5 versus 8 seed and 6 versus 7 seed to play in to get to the double elimination tournament. So it's an 8-team tournament. The first round is single elimination to get to the double elimination, and then the first 2 seeds have a bye to the second round of the double elimination tournament. I believe that I'm saying that correct. So it's a tough tournament. It's grueling. So, but it'll be interesting to see. I know, looking at the standings, I don't have the standings in front of me, but I know there's a lot of teams that are could be from anywhere from 3rd to 8th at this point. I think this next weekend is really all about the seeding positions for some teams and getting in.
Yeah, no, it's a fun league. It's an exciting league. I've enjoyed covering it, and you're a big part of that as well. Last question before we let you go: what do you want to see from your team here? Down the stretch here as you wrap up the regular season, the conference tournament, and then you hope obviously the NCAA regionals. What are the keys for your team moving forward? You want to see?
Well, the keys moving forward for this week, we play Lipscomb this week. We play Thursday and Friday. We're going to try and get as much rest as we can prior to this. Is our week of exams, so we'll be scheduling practice around our exams this week. And then we'll try to get as much rest and recovery as we can before we play Lipscomb, and then we'll go into the tournament with everything we have. We're going to try and win an ASUN tournament championship with the players that we got going. So that's the plan. But
Well,
I
coach,
think right now for us, the most
yeah,
important thing would be recovery.
recovery and get ready for the stretch here. They call it mayhem, as they like to say here in the
That's
month of
right.
May. Coach,
We're
Coach, it's going to be fun, and we really enjoy you seeing your team play. Congratulations on the ASUN regular season championship and the success you've had to this point. Good luck the rest of the way, and thank you for so much for taking the time to talk to us. I know it's a busy time, and we definitely appreciate you talking to us.
I appreciate it, Eric. Thanks for having me.